What's up, guys? How are y'all doing today? It is Tuesday, 13th at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I wanted to come on and do a recap of the race and just kind of talk about just things I like to do. I always like to look back on my events and just kind of like replay in my head quickly things that went right, things that went wrong, things I could have done differently, things I could have done better, and then just kind of summarize the whole event. So I'm gonna do that now. It's not gonna be a long video. I'm not gonna drag this on to be like 10 minutes. It's probably gonna be under 10. I'm watching the recorder, and let's just get into it. So again, the week leading up to the race, I did everything I wanted to do. I ran a couple times. I think I did 3 or 4 miles each time. Felt really good, kept my legs loose, and then I rested for a few days where I still lifted, but I didn't do any cardio. What would I have done differently? I probably would have taken Saturday completely off. The day before the race, completely off. No lifting whatsoever. The weightlifting I did Saturday, or even Friday, kind of hit my hamstrings and my calves, a little bit of my quads, a little bit harder than I would have liked. They were kind of sore going into the race, but obviously I didn't want to have to worry about using that as a potential excuse. So I just I foam rolled, I used the Theragun quite a bit on my legs. I stretched, I did everything I could do to kind of alleviate that. And it was enough for the race. So everything going up to the race, I was eating right. I wasn't like junk carb loading. For an Ironman, I would have carb loaded, but for a half marathon, maybe even a marathon, I would have carb loaded. But for a half Ironman, because I knew I was going for 2 hours or less, or under 2 hours, that the carb loading wasn't necessary. Race morning, everything went according to plan up to the race. My wake-up call was fine. My breakfast was good. Everything timing-wise was on point as far as I could tell. I was loose, I stretched, I warmed up, I did, I jogged a little bit, got the blood flowing. So the whole reason I did a lot of that, which I didn't do, I did a little bit more than I normally would have done for a run, is I wanted my body to be loose and ready to go before the first mile got started. Because on some of the longer runs I've done, the first mile or two, I needed to warm up and then my body would kick in. I just wanted to get started right away. My goal was, at least for the first half of it, was to kind of gauge the course. Again, you saw the wind in the beginning. You saw how windy it kind of was, and I know wind affected me a lot 2 weeks earlier when I did the virtual race. So I really just wanted to test the wind to see how well the weather conditions were going to be treating me. And I was hoping to keep my paces for the first 6 miles between 8:40 and 8:50 if possible. And if I look back on the stats now and I look at my individual laps, I know my laps were 8:47, 49, 44, 50. I had 9:04 in mile 5. I think I was eating and I slowed down a little bit for that. And then 8:52 for mile 6. So 8:58 for mile 7. So the first half of the race was right about on track where I wanted it to be. I had a couple slower miles, in the mid upper 850s. But for the most part, they were right where I needed them to be. When we got to the turnaround, the wind wasn't really a factor at all. Even though it was blowing, you couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if I was running into a headwind, and my miles really couldn't dictate that either, based on the times. We hit the turnaround point, which was a little after 7 miles, which is kind of trippy because you see the timer thing, and my wife sent me a text saying that I was running slow. Because I hit the timing mat at it was like 7.25 miles, and I was at like an hour 8, and the thing said halfway point. So she's panicking, thinking I'm not gonna make it, under 2 hours. And really, my Garmin and the mile markers on the course were almost exact. It was really, really close. Hit the return track. Now the return track, the way it worked. So here's the map of the course. Okay, you see we started, down towards here. There's a pavilion in a parking lot. We run up on the road. We run through the housing, some of the communities. So we did like the first 3.5 miles through the housing, and that was all well and good. And then we kind of hit the main road all the way out past the rental condos, and we hit the turnaround point. Now once you hit the turnaround point over here at mile 7.5, you cross the street. Now there's a running path that kind of goes the whole way back into town. So we started hitting that running path. Now out past the last condos for like a mile or so, it's, you know, rolling hills. I mean, for runners, it's rolling hills, especially when you haven't been running on any kind of change in elevation, and all of a sudden you're going up and down these little hills. But to make it worse, because of the storms and the weather, whatever, even since the hurricane, the road was, the running path was kind of covered in sand in a lot of places, and it was probably about 6-7 inches deep, and it wasn't like hard packed sand. It was, you know, loose sand, so you step on it, like your ankle would start to wobble. So for about a half a mile to a mile, we had to deal with not only the elevation changes, but the sand covered road. And then there were sections that were just, you know, flooded from the rain the day before, so you had to like find your way around these water puddles that were, you know, 6-7 feet wide, you know, and then couple, you know, a few inches deep. So it wasn't like you wanted to run through it, because obviously you don't want blisters on your feet. You don't want to add the extra weight to have wet socks, and just running multiple miles with wet socks is just not comfortable. So we got past the condos, and, you know, from mile 8 to mile 10 was really good. You know, back on the road, back, you know, flat land, everything was kind of going well. I didn't have any issues. You know, I was running good. My times were 8:37, 8:54, 8:47. Shortly after mile 10, we took a right turn back into the housing communities. Now, this is where, like, mentally I tripped out, because I can normally gauge the distances, you know, because I know mile markers. Once we start going off the main roads into like these little communities and making all these turnarounds and stuff, I kind of lose bearing of where I'm at. So we turned into into this little housing area, and we're running along the bay. And while it was gorgeous scenery, because there was one turn where you just came around and all you saw was the bay and the water, and it was really nice to look at, but I had no idea how much further I had. My music's going, you know, we're still dodging, you know, almost like small lakes in the middle of the road to get out of there. You know, got out of there at, I think it was like just before, right around mile 12. So we had only a mile to go. And at this point, I've already been trying to do math in my head to try to, you know, figure out if I'm going to make it on time. Like, I'm looking at my watch, you know, at mile 8, I'm going, okay, I got 5 miles to go. I'm at this time, 5 times, you know, and I'm just, it hurt my head to try to figure out the math to do all that stuff. Hit mile 12, kept on going. We're back on the main road, so I had about a mile of road to go before the turn. I could start to see the finish line, and everything was coming well. And so the last little bit, I kind of, you know, picked up the pace a little bit. I was, you know, I went, miles 11, 12, and 13 were 9:02, 9:03, 9:04, but then the mile 14, that last little 0.15 miles, I was at an 8:07. So I did everything I could to kind of pick up the pace just a little bit more. I know it was irrelevant, you know, at that point. Once I saw the finish line, I knew I was gonna hit under 2. I felt great about it. Crossed the finish line, I saw 1:56 on the clock, or 1:58 on the clock when I was running. 1:56 on my watch. That's the difference between the gun time versus when I started running, you know, chip time. Official result though is 1:56.35. Personal best for me, sub 2 hours, so my goal was completed. I felt really good. I stretched out, you know, after the run, I had my glass of water, finished out, got changed, and then I went home. And I ate Oreo donuts, I ate pancakes and eggs, and I had, you know, Wendy's for dinner, and I had, what thing I was eating, I had, you know, a whole bunch, I had the bag of chips and the dip. Oh, it was so good. So good. And it's all I wanted. The entire, like, for like 12 weeks, all I wanted was a bag of Ruffles potato chips and a jar of ranch dip. And I had half the bag of chips and probably half the jar in one sitting. So in the end, it was a great race for me. I felt really good. Could I have gone faster? Probably. I think in my training, making my longest run of training prior to the virtual at 10 miles was probably a mistake. I wasn't, that wasn't on me. That was the racing plan itself, the running plan itself. For the marathon, will I stop early? I'll probably try to push it to like 23 to 25 miles. I know if I hit 23, it's only a 5K to the end. So maybe we'll stop at 23. I don't expect to, you know, do that one without walking. I did have to walk for like a 0.05 miles on this one just because I had a shoulder cramp right here, like a little cramp, whatever. So I walked to kind of rub that out a little bit, and then I, you know, finished up going. I mean, in the end, this was a good run. Again, I think I probably would have done better if my running plan had gone to like 12 miles, or just to kind of get your body used to running that long. If you're only trained to do 10, if you've only in training gone as far as 10, yes, you can carry yourself to 13, and I would have had plenty of time to finish, and I had enough energy to finish. But when I was going for the goal, I probably should have ran closer to 13, just so my legs would have had that kind of energy. So we'll probably tweak that up for the marathon prep. Might do less taper weeks for the marathon prep going in. 3 taper weeks prior to the first virtual, and then another taper week in between races. Probably too much, so I think for the prep I might do 2 tapers, or maybe just 2. We'll figure that out. But in the end, again, I felt like it was a great run. There was a lot of crowd support along the course, even though there wasn't anything at the finish or the start line, just because of restrictions and that word that I'm not gonna say because I don't want to risk views or whatever. But so they kept everything good. Everything was safe. All I did was walk past. I didn't stay for the after party. I never really do stay for the after parties. I don't drink beer, so it was just like, especially at 9:30 in the morning, drinking a beer just kind of seemed weird to me. So I just kind of went home and had my drink, my recovery shake and stuff like that. So I really can't say much else about it. There is one thing we have to do though, and I brought these with me. They're dry now, so I can do this. But remember a couple weeks ago, I manifested the goal on 4/11/21, 1 hour, and I left it blank. But now we get to fill that in. So 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 35 seconds. That's a shitty 56 minutes. So it is now written on the shoe. I'm going to write it on the other one. This is kind of ugly to look at. 56 and 35. There it is. That's a better view right there. 1:56:35. It is now enshrined on the shoe. And those shoes are officially retired from running. They've got almost 400 miles on them as is, and although the tread still looks pretty solid, it is worn down. So we're going to trade these in for some new Hokas. All right, so we got the new ones, nice solid brand new tread, never been worn Hokas. Again, I'm gonna leave this blank until we get closer to the marathon itself. But to make matters even better, I'm not even gonna run the marathon in these. These are literally just gonna be training shoes, and I might even have to get a second pair due to the amount of mileage we're gonna have to do. Instead, I'm gonna use these as my marathon shoe. So these are gonna be the ones that I run the marathon in, the Carbon X shoes. These are the ones with the carbon fiber base plate in there. Note, I cannot bend that worth a damn, but I can totally flex this one. So this is gonna be a really good shoe. I'm only gonna use these for long runs on the marathon prep training. So these are gonna get almost 300 miles just running them once a week plus race day. These are probably gonna get closer to 400 or 500 miles on them. So I might have, like I said, I might have to get another pair. But these are what's coming up next. So you're gonna see these a lot in the next marathon series, or in the second half of this marathon series. But for now, we're going to say to be continued. I got a few weeks where I'm not gonna be running a whole lot. I might do once a week just to kind of keep my legs in the mindset of running. But I do have other stuff coming for you, so don't go away from the channel. Stay tuned on the channel. We are still gonna be putting out content for you, or I am still gonna be putting out content for you. We're at 100 subs. We need 900 more before we can start monetizing and get these giveaways going. So feel free to keep monetizing. I appreciate you following, supporting, subscribe, like, share, hit the bell so you know when I upload. I'm only gonna be posting once a week for the rest of this year though. I think 2 videos a week was a little overkill. So I think for now, for a while, I'm gonna go back to once a week. I might stay that way. So it'll be every Thursday around 2 p.m. I'm gonna upload videos. So that's gonna be the schedule. So you'll know when I post every Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time. So 3 Eastern, 2 Central, noon Pacific. So that's when the uploads are gonna be done from now on. it's not that I didn't like putting out 2 videos a week. 2 videos a week just seemed like overkill, and it was a lot of work to kind of edit the videos, even though my edits were very simple. The joys of being a one-man team is that everything has to be done simple, and you don't get a lot of good shots. But so like I said, I have some plans for the future. But I'm gonna end this video here. It's already almost 7 minutes over where I said it was gonna be. I at least record time, I'll edit time, it'll chop it down a little bit more. But thank you for watching. Remember we start the marathon training June 14th, which means June 15th, 16th, 17th will get your first video. That might be refresh your memory what happened. So that's that, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you.